Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Who Let Me Read This, the podcast where a group of us, friends, actors, comedians, gals, I don't know, come up with it. Folks. I like folks. Go back and review the inappropriate books of our youth and how it's affected our view on lives and our ginormous therapy bills that we're coming across now. Just a little bit. So maybe that's just me.
I don't think it's just you.
All right, fair enough.
No. Mine is booze bill, but same.
Yeah, same. There's just no copay for that.
Yeah. So Laura has picked our book this month. We are on episode 3 of Die Softly by Christopher Pike. A gem of a book published in 1991. We're here today at the Sexy Hackers studio. Big thank you to Sexy Hackers. They are hosting us. They've also outfitted us in some sweet t-shirts. Laura has one with the Sexy Hackers logo, which is a kind of rockabilly cat.
I love that little kitty.
I know, she's super cute. Andrea has the Believe in Yourself When No One Else Does Bigfoot shirt.
Truly words to live by.
Yeah. Michelle White has joined us today in a 20-sided die heart t-shirt.
I love it.
I feel a little bit like a fraud, but I liked the shirt.
It's a cute shirt, even if you don't play D&D.
Exactly.
And I'm Sarah. I'm wearing a Follow Your Gut shirt that I actually stole from the host of Turn to Page Fun. It said follow your gut, so I had to cut it off into a crop top.
So,
it was asking for it.
Delightful.
It's only logical.
Ooh. But let's dive back into Die Softly by Christopher Pike. We're about halfway through the book.
Yeah.
So Laura's going to give us a little plot update about where we are right now. Mm-hmm. It's been a ride.
Yeah. In case you didn't listen to the first 2 episodes, in which case, you can just pause right now and go back and do that. Otherwise, as we enter, meet Herb, our lame, not so bright, and unattractive and poor protagonist who has been encouraged by his dumpy but loyal best friend, his words, not ours, Sammie, to take pictures of the school cheerleaders, including his dream girl, Alexa, in the shower. Sure.
Wait, what?
Yep. On the way to pick up the film, because this takes place in 1991, Herb comes across a car crash at the exact same place his other best friend's brother Roger died 6 months ago in a cocaine-induced car accident. The driver of this car is Lisa, his dream girl's bitchy best friend and Roger's girlfriend. Turns out she was a long-time coke user. But let's forget all that. It's naked picture time! Yay! Herb scores 3 naked pictures of Lisa, and 1 fully clothed Alexa creeping up behind her with a bat. What?
There must be some explanation for this.
Nope. Fortunately, Alexa calls right then to just say she's being framed for Lisa's murder.
How did she know?
No.
Herb should hightail it over there with his evidence. And along the way, Steven, Alexa's boyfriend, shows up to kick Herb's ass and steal the picture. Go, Steven.
Like you do.
No, wait, he's a bad guy. Sorry.
Never does Herb suspect why everyone knows all these things.
No, because Herb's an idiot.
Yep. Everyone just knows it. Yep. So we have a couple plot points that we want to cover today because there's, the second half of this book is just a treat. It is. Yeah.
Christopher Pike is like, things. Oh, wait, I spent so much time
discussing film developing.
How to develop film. I need to tie up this plot real quick. And he does it real quick.
Make this climax 3 pages.
Yeah. Whoops. So Herb there is headed off to Alexa's to tell this story, and we also learn in a 1 sentence the history of abuse by her father, tossed in, while Alexa's throwing shade at Sammie and making her believe the picture was taken at a different time by Sammie. And then
frame.
Yeah. And then to solidify this, she just makes out with him a little bit.
And he's like, well, that doesn't sound like Sammie. Oh, we're making out. Yeah, totally.
I literally set up the camera and went and collected the film myself. Yeah, no, this lines up. This tracks.
Yeah.
Sure, someone else.
We're
did
kissing
this.
now? Lines up.
Yep, and not even really like making out. I should clarify that. It was really just like a kiss, right?
Yeah.
There was no second base. There was like no over the shirt action.
There is the most romantic thing of all, which is him comparing her to an eagle, the sexiest bird.
Yes, and he does also say that she was really sexy when she was chewing with her mouth full. So, like,
Yes.
that's cool.
And that she's the prettiest girl in school now that Lisa's dead.
Herb,
Herb.
It's a mess.
good work for Hallmark.
A gentleman for all seasons.
I'm gonna say that girl had to be doing cocaine based on what she ate at McDonald's.
Right?
Right, yeah.
She's like Big Mac, large fry, strawberry shake. I'm like, damn, girl.
Alexa's
not
living her
normal?
best life.
And she comes over to Herb's house and she's like, make me a sandwich.
Give me some beers.
Props,
Yes,
girl.
and they drink beer.
Props, girl. She's like, make me a sandwich. Give me some beers. And he's like, okay.
And he describes it as like the biggest sandwich ever in the history of the world. Like,
Which is great. When
Yeah.
I was growing up, we used to call it a big, disgusting sandwich. Like, I'd come home from school and make a big, disgusting sandwich with, like, anything that was in the fridge. Yes. And, like, but that's a high schooler thing, too, I think.
yeah. And she's a cheerleader, so she's jumping around and
Yeah.
doing flips and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Baking. Is there a fetish for like watching people eat? Is that a thing?
Yes, that is. It is. It's
Oh.
called Feeders and Eaters.
Did you know
There's
that
a
off
thing
the top
that
of your
exists.
head?
Our next podcast.
I watched a lot of Bones. I'm probably blushing right now.
I think there's an episode of
no, that's a
CSI
thing.
about it too.
Yeah.
I also think people do that and don't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
like,
really into-
oh, I'm just taking care of her. She's 700 pounds. Who someone's bringing the food.
Well, and Herb is turned on by literally everything as well.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
we shouldn't be surprised that he finds her eating
I
sexy.
feel like that's normal for teenage boys. I was never a teenage boy, but I've heard that's kind of a thing for all.
I just think it's funny that he described, like, specifically said she was sexy when she was when she chewed with her mouth full. Like
Because he imagined his penis,
her chewing on his penis.
her mouth full of his penis.
There we
You
go.
know what?
There we go.
Herb's taking anything he
Listen,
can get.
that's
Right,
an
yeah.
hors d'oeuvre
Herb's-
at best. One of those little baby sandwiches.
Yeah.
He also talks about the black spots floating in her pupils at one point, at multiple
like,
points,
aren't
but at one point,
pupils
this-
black?
It would have to be her
spots?
irises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He specifically says like floating around her pupils. So maybe it's like around
Basic
in a
biology,
circle. In
Pike.
any case, like people shouldn't have black spots floating around in their eyes.
From the cocaine.
Well, yes.
Duh.
Yep. As we've learned.
Is that what that does? Is that
Yes.
What was the research that Christopher Pike did for this book?
But we know it's not
On
normal
cocaine.
cocaine. We find out later it's not normal cocaine.
Okay, but like, did Christopher Pike
not
just
normal
do
cocaine?
a bunch
But
of
she's
cocaine
not-
and that was
she's
his
not
research?
doing-
Because
It doesn't sound
I
like
feel
it, 'cause-
some of his
Not saying, I'm just saying
People you've talked to have told you.
that that's not how it works.
Well, and so she is doing normal
You have
cocaine
to
though.
sniff pretty hard. You
Yeah.
can't just breathe.
Christopher Pike had one friend who did coke one time.
Yeah.
And that was his source for this
Christopher
book.
Pike read a newspaper story about a teenager who like did coke on accident.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And that was his
this
research
is
for
not
the book?
normal cocaine.
No.
Yeah.
No. Which we
But-
get to.
So they make out for 0.5 seconds, and then Herb is like, "Yeah, let me go. We should go give you the print and the negative of this picture." And Sammie's totally framing you, and my best friend is a killer, and this is all fine and normal.
Yeah. And so they go back to Herb's house, right? And because Alexa wants to see his room, which is messy and dirty like always.
And smells
Damn,
like
Herb.
vinegar because he develops film in there.
He rats
get it
himself out a
together.
lot. He tells on himself like a lot.
Yeah. And during all this, Sammie's like calling him and they're back and forth and all this stuff. And she insists on seeing the picture. And after some shenanigans, they insist, they agree to meet at the deadly curve.
Yes.
Because that's a good idea.
No one says like, this doesn't seem right.
Right? No, not at all. Not like, hey, Sammie, come over to my house where it's normal, where it's expected that you would just be here.
Yeah.
So they're at the deadly curve. Herb and Alexa, Sammie's there. Steven also shows up. And he accuses Sammie of stealing Lisa's package. Wait, what? Was Lisa
What
also
package? What are
dealing
you talking
drugs?
about?
No. Sammie shoots Steven. Theo, out of nowhere, shows up and shoots Sammie.
He's like on a rock somewhere, like far away, like
Yes, they
sniping.
referred to him for a long time as the sniper.
Yes.
Because we don't know who it is.
Yes.
And this whole time, like, Herb and Alexa's like, no, we have to hide and, like, wait and see what happens. And Herb's like, but we're meeting Sammie here, and she's right there. And she's like, no, we have to hide. And he's like, okay.
Just in case it's a plot to kill them.
Right.
Yeah, what if she has an accomplice hiding somewhere? It's
Also,
all-
we need to make sure we have a gun with us. Don't
Yes.
mind my dad over there.
Yes.
Oh, God.
We'll come back to Dad. We'll circle back to
Oh,
Dad.
God.
Yep. Just like one sentence in there.
Come on,
Yes,
Alexa.
It was like the most interesting part.
Yeah.
So everyone has a gun.
yep.
Sammie shoots Steven. Theo shoots Sammie.
And he shoots Sammie because he says that she killed Roger.
And
Yeah.
she has guilt. Oh, we didn't get to that part
Yeah,
yet.
that's right.
Yes. And then she falls off the cliff. She gets shot and then falls
Yeah,
off the cliff.
she falls off the cliff onto the wreckage
Yes,
from
I
the car
forgot about
accident.
that.
She
Stab.
lands on the twisted shards of metal from the car accident.
Of course.
That they just leave there.
There has been no crime scene team to pack that up.
Well,
They just said, well,
so after all this happens, we're back at home and we have now we've come into the present. So all of this has been happening through flashbacks. Herb's telling this to a detective, Fitzsimmons, over the phone with, being interrogated by a detective without parental supervision. That's great. Yeah.
He's 18.
Christian.
A lawyer, though.
That's true.
But he's a dummy. So
He does mention, like, do I need a lawyer at one point? And the cop's like, no, you don't need a lawyer.
yeah.
But do I need a lawyer?
Just
No, I
tell
don't need
me
a lawyer.
all the things. It'll be fine.
Is what I did illegal? No. Not any more illegal than what I'm telling you right now.
Right.
This tape will be completely inadmissible in court.
Right.
Oh my gosh, so much.
I'm real mad at Detective Fitzsimmons.
Right?
Yeah.
Terribly
Like, come on.
inappropriate. Also, no one figured this out ahead of time. Yeah. So a lot of shenanigans there, and Fitzsimmons finally says, "You know what, buddy? Because you're not going to come in." And there's this whole thing about how Herb's like just too lazy to go to the police station, but he's like pretending, but then he just doesn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah, they're having this all over the
I
phone
don't know
while
if
like
he's afraid to go in and like get arrested, but he wants to tell the truth, so he'll say it on the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
Herb's
chicken
a
shit way to
complicated
do it.
person. Like his motivation at any given point in time is pretty hard to nail down because it seems to change from sentence to sentence.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Well, and he's like, don't come over. And Fitzsimmons is like, but should I come over? I can be there in half an hour. And he's like, but don't come over. And Fitzsimmons is like, but should I come over? And he's
I think
like,
I should
"Don't
come over."
Okay, if you want to. And then Herb sets up his camera device with the timer one last time.
Dun dun dun.
He's got to get his money's worth. I mean, he did steal a $450
VHS
VCR.
player.
Yeah.
Is he not planning to take that back?
He was originally, but now obviously plans have
he was
changed.
talking about how he was soldering things. And
Yeah.
I feel like once you've taken a soldering gun to something, you can't like put it back. You can't unsolder something.
So where in his 6-month-old unwashed jeans did Herb smuggle this VCR? Like, how did he get that out of there? In his unwashed flannel, in his unkempt hair.
Somehow this factory is run by literally 2 18-year-olds and one of them is just smashed.
Well, he
So,
said the manager was the one who was giving Theo beer, and the manager was drunk all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
The manager would drink a 6-pack every night.
Enablers.
And it was 1991, so they didn't have security cameras everywhere to make sure that your employees aren't stealing their labor from you.
yeah.
We trusted
Anyway,
people. We trusted people a lot more.
maybe, I don't know. We might have trusted people a lot more, but
No, we didn't. We just didn't have
the
choice.
means.
No,
Yeah.
we just didn't have the means. We hadn't figured it out yet how to like.
How do you think we got all that technology?
Right. We hadn't figured out all
Untrusted.
these surveillance techniques yet.
Yes.
Oh, all right. I have so much more to say on this, but
Yes.
But before we do that, we are going to have a word from our sponsor, sexyhackers.com.
Sexyhackers.com.
Welcome back. We are here on Who Let Me Read This, working our way through Die Softly by Christopher Pike. Back after the break. Whoo, boy.
God.
This is where it starts to heat up for sure.
Things are starting to get going.
I really love, I have to say, probably my biggest WTF moment in this whole section right here is how quickly Herb believes that girls just sneak up on each other in the shower with bats for fun.
Yeah.
Like, Alexa tells him that, and he's like,
all the time.
sounds right. Fully clothed. So Herb's, talking to Alexa, and he's like, why were you sneaking up on her with a bat? And she's like, oh, we were cheering at the baseball team at game, and it was bad because they're really bad, and let's talk about that for another, page. Thanks, Pike. And then we were helping them carry the bats and the balls, and somehow Lisa got in the shower really fast, and I just snuck up on her with a bat.
Hilarious. In her defense, cheerleading or doing any sort of school spirity things at a baseball game is super boring.
Yeah.
What made more unbelievable to me was that a girl was taking a shower alone at school. Like, why wouldn't you just go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're forced to take a shower at school, you're not
never
taking a shower in the open shower. It's just,
Yeah.
you're not.
Which, so much of this plot hinges on, these completely unbelievable feats of, timing and coincidence of, so Lisa then is the only person who stayed to take a shower. And then Alexa's able to sneak up on her with a bat in the shower. People constantly, meet each other in places.
Knew it was Sammie knew it was going to happen ahead of time.
But she
And
did
knew
because
exactly
it was
when it
planned.
was going to happen.
Yeah.
She
And,
did.
everything worked out perfectly.
The
that
timing
it
is what
actually
gets me.
did
Yeah.
happen.
At that moment.
At that moment.
I feel like
plan it.
there must have been a lot of very awkward conversations with tertiary characters in this universe where Sammie's standing outside the door no, you need to get in the shower right now. No, it's 3:57. You have to go.
Stuff that he could have put in the book besides how to develop film.
It's really important that you get in the shower right now. And then somebody else tries to come into the shower and she's like, no, shower's broken.
Right.
There was a lot of awkward zhuzhing happening behind the
If we
scenes.
make this into a movie, we got
But
some splaining to do.
I don't feel like it would be that hard to keep teenage girls out of the shower because no teenage girl wants to take a shower except for Lisa.
I mean, in public, we take showers.
Right. But yeah. But I can count on one hand the number of gym class showers I took in high
none.
school.
No.
On one hand. And that was because we were forced
Swimming.
to.
Yeah.
No, we didn't do swimming.
Oh.
We did
We didn't have a pool.
Yeah. Our middle school, we were actually required to do showers, but we had shower curtain stalls because I remember this so bizarrely. My sister was on the school council, the student council, and they had to argue to have shower curtains put in because everyone thought that Mrs. Mueller was a total perv. I'm sorry. I always thought you were nice. You never creeped me out. It was just the word around school.
There's one at every school
I
where
feel like
there's
every
one
school, they
there's
think one of
one
the gym
staff
teachers,
member
yeah.
Yeah.
I took a lot of group showers at Girl Scout camp, outside. Because we had
Outdoor showers, yeah.
And they weren't, well, you could go in curtain ones, but they were filled with spiders and stuff inside. Or you could go to the outdoor ones that everyone,
Yeah. That were not full of spiders.
and shower under the tree.
Can I just say this is probably the least sexy discussion of girl group showers that's ever happened on a podcast,
Well, if you don't want to get spiders in your hair.
right? And you don't want to get perved on by the gym teacher.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what? I had a gym teacher who I'm 99.99999% sure was a lesbian, and she was the least awful of all the gym teachers. She was the coolest gym teacher. So
yeah, that tends to be the case, I feel like. We all think the wrong person is the creep. Speaking of creeps, how about Alexa's dad?
So, do
Because I feel like we need to deep dive into this for a minute.
Yes.
Wait, yeah, because
it
I'm
is
sure I have it bookmarked. Because it's
literally one sentence. So they're talking about Alexis throwing a ton of shade on Sammie and like, hey,
I don't have it
Sammie's gonna, Sammie's gonna do this, and Sammie probably set this up. And look at that tiny blurb in the photo. Doesn't that look like a flannel? Doesn't that look like a man? Who else could that be but Sammie? Yep.
That I do have marked.
Right?
It's on page 140.
So,
If you're following along in your copy of the book, it's on page 140.
So in the middle of all that, Alexa's, throwing a bunch of shade, trying to make Sammie seem really guilty and, figuring out all the ways that this is totally logical that she snuck up on her friend with a bat.
As you do.
And in the middle of it, she just tosses in like one sentence about her childhood.
Yep. So we got, I have the bit here. So they're leaving Herb's house at this point, and Herb makes a joke about how she makes it sound like her mom was abusive towards her. And Alexa smiled thinly. No, it's my dad who beat me, she added softly. And other things. Herb froze. What other things? The kind of things you read about in women's magazines. The kind of things TV preachers talk about as signs of the coming of the Antichrist. Those kind of other things. I'm sorry, what? And then he goes, you mean sexual abuse? And she goes, yeah. And then they move on. And that's it.
And the light in her green eyes was cold.
Yes. It's
we also get the casual
like,
drop.
by.
Yeah, we get the casual drop like a bit after that about how like she made her dad pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I got
she
him
did
back.
something that kept him from ever doing it again.
And then...
Yeah. But we don't know. We never learn exactly what that is, but we do hear about when Herb is over at Alexa's house, we see Dad, like a crippled old man, older than his years.
And he's described as almost,
It sounds like he's a paraplegic.
right.
Like he can't get up.
He's described as being like, seemingly being a paraplegic, where he's like, oh, his head was at a weird angle.
Yeah, he's like Bent Neck Lady
propped
from Haunting
up.
of Hill House.
He's
It's a whole
propped
thing.
up, he's having a hard time breathing. Like,
And Herb is just like, huh.
We might have sex.
How about that?
Not the dad.
yeah.
Right? But that's it. Like, these whole
oh.
250 pages, and maybe a page total is dedicated to this.
And
Maybe.
Dad looks at them while they're at her house getting the gun, and she says, "Don't look at us," and he closes his eye and turns around.
And that's it. Like,
That's it.
yeah, it's maybe a page. And compared to the amount of time we spend talking about what brand of film he uses, like,
Right? And how many
fuck off, Herb.
gallons of cocaine that were laying around. Like, really?
Compared to how much time we spend driving around drunkenly with Theo, shooting
Yes.
at things.
Finding
There's
your gun
infinite
places.
beer in this, like,
Infinite beer
town
and
for
infinite
children.
gun.
To be fair, the book's not about her. It's about her.
This is true.
That's true.
It's true, but this helps explain some of her issues, and
Yeah, it is. It's the go-to, like, dude writer. Like, I need this girl to have a reason to have, like, a troubled
The only
past.
thing that can make you
Yeah.
strong is sexual abuse, you know.
Yes.
Rape, one of those
It's
things.
the
They censored
the
her.
Game of Thrones effect. Yes.
Sands at her real hard.
You can only be a strong, decisive woman character if you are either constantly under threat of sexual assault or are sexually assaulted.
Yes. Yep.
Which
These
is
are
a
bad.
great message given what we learn about her later. Like, there's so many troubling implications of, like, his understanding of trauma and, like, just, it's yucky.
Yeah.
Guys. It's
Yuck
bad.
Herb.
And speaking of Pike himself, so he is a little bit troubling himself from what we know.
Ooh.
Yeah. He's kind of a recluse. Which I know almost made him more interesting. So his name is actually Kevin McFadden.
Ooh, that's a good name.
Yeah.
Why didn't he use that one?
So he said that it came up very spontaneously. He was being asked when one of his first books was being published, Slumber Party. He was asked for a book, and he was like, Christopher Pike, because he heard it on Star Trek, and he didn't think that the show would be around for very long, even though he thought it was really, really good.
Sweet summer child.
I was like, what? So if you thought it was really good, then why didn't you? All right, whatever, fine.
Okay, Herb.
Yeah. He's like, I liked having a short last name that was easy to remember for future fans. Like, okay, sure. Yeah, he was born in New York, but he grew up in California. Attended college very briefly, worked a lot of like odd jobs, kind of bouncing around, and he was trying his hand at science fiction writing and adult mystery and failed terribly.
Oh, sweet baby angel. I
Yeah.
wonder why.
Sorry, babe.
So it was suggested that he work on young adult books instead.
Because the bar is so much lower.
Right. His first attempt resulted in the 1985 novel Slumber Party, a book about a group of teenagers who run into bizarre and violent events during a ski weekend, which is basically the plot for all 50-ish of his books, mixed in with some awkward sex and a bunch of cocaine. Cocaine is like a running theme in his books.
Which is interesting considering how little he seems to know about cocaine.
Yeah, it's up there a lot. He wrote a very popular series called Spooksville, and his book Fall into Darkness was adapted into a television movie.
Yeah, watch it, please.
Me too.
I need to see it.
So he's very private. He rarely gives interviews. He's just recently started posting on like his Facebook page to answer just book specific questions. He does not talk about his regular life. But he's also
It's actually me.
Yeah.
I'm Christopher Pike, you guys. I'm not. Don't sue me, Christopher Pike.
The one thing he's talked about is that he's really creeped out by blood. And you can tell, Herbs actually says that in the book. Don't tell me about the blood. He panics that. Yeah, that's very Pike. So I'm thinking Herb is a little bit Pike. Or a lot. Kevin McFadden.
Yeah.
This is a theme that we're striking into here because we had VC Andrews who wrote about all of these isolated characters, and then we have poor Christopher Pike and poor fucking Herb.
Right? Like,
His bad memory and his bad socialization and his bad everything.
right? Because you write what you know, and you know yourself. So what I think is really interesting, though, is he also includes, like in his writing, he talks, a lot of his characters are named Anne. You see that in a lot of the books. Anne is his sister. But she also gets killed. She's sometimes the bad guy. Like, he just sort of tosses that around. And this book, Die Softly, was dedicated to his brother.
All right. Did his brother die in a cocaine-fueled car crash?
I can't
Like,
tell.
maybe his brother, maybe there was some traumatic cocaine issue with his brother, and that is why he, like, hyper-focuses on cocaine so much in his books.
Could be.
I mean, and it's the 80s.
And he doesn't, he's never said that that's not the case, so I feel like we can assume that that's the case. Give us a call, Christopher Pike. We'll have you on
Probably
the podcast.
Yeah, doesn't like to talk to people. So
You don't have to talk to us. We'll just talk over you. It's fine.
It's our time now, Christopher Pike.
Time now, Christopher Pike.
So interesting dude. So as we left off the plot, Herb is talking to Detective Fitzsimmons. They're recapping everything. Fitzsimmons says he's coming over or not.
Maybe?
Yeah,
Or maybe?
he's like, I could come over if you want.
Oh.
I think I should come over. No, don't.
I should come over. Don't come over. But I could.
But really, he wants him to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is not saying what they want.
Or what they need to say.
I feel like we just need to have some communication here.
Somebody needed to mediate.
Fine. We're going to come back next week with a whole lot more of wrapping up loose ends because Christopher Pike left it all until the last second here.
All of it.
But if you are watching on YouTube, if you've been watching this episode on YouTube, like, subscribe. There's a
Thing
bell
somewhere.
somewhere.
Bling.
It's a bubbling on. If you are listening on your podcast app of choice, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
It helps with the algorithm.
Yes. You don't even have to write
Internet
anything.
magic. You don't even need to write anything. Just beep, 5 stars.
But you can.
Just like you do for your Lyft driver. It's fine.
Yeah.
Love to hear from you guys.
Yes, we also love to hear from you.
I love
if you
comments.
are on the iTunes app, that is the purple play button.
Yes, do that. Especially if you're Christopher Pike.
If you're Christopher Pike, give us a call.
Awesome. We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Bye.
SexyHackers.com Stream Team.